Welcome back, everybody. Episode 17 of the Incognito Banter. We have a pretty packed episode this week, and I want to first start by saying Happy Valentine's Day, folks.
Thanks. I really needed that.
Yeah, in case you have that special someone in your life,
I don't.
make sure you treat them well. I got actually an interesting tidbit on that after, but we'll talk about that. But it got a pretty packed episode this week, so I want to kind of cover a couple of the things that we want to talk about. We're going to finally fucking talk about Tetris.
I'm so excited. I waited weeks for this.
And we're also going to talk about a big game that happened this past weekend in the football world called the Super Bowl. And
What's that?
Yeah, right. Finally, we might cover some Reddit, and we've been watching some TV, and we want to get some opinions on something that we're watching. So, for starters, let's just talk about this game that almost brought down the Soviet Union, Tetris.
Oh, I thought you were going the other direction.
Yeah,
we were
I
talking
thought
about the football.
And I got confused for a second. I'm like, yo, how did the Chiefs do it? Taylor Swift was there. What did she do?
Taylor Swift. Oh, God, I have a lot to talk about, or a lot of stuff I want to bring up about the Super Bowl. But let's do Tetris before we lose it again.
I would honestly want to push it back for just so the viewers know the pain. Like every time we're just,
I will kill you.
we push Tetris back.
So, I'll let you. You've suffered long enough. I'll let you take this.
It's a very interesting story, and I read up a lot about it, like randomly. It's like one of those things where, like, I don't know if everyone else does this. Pretty sure they don't. But like once a year, randomly, just YouTube, gives you random videos, like 2-hour videos, and it ends up always being Mortal Kombat related for me, where I watch like the whole history of the Mortal Kombat universe, which is like an 8-hour video.
Also, I think we saw this part of this together. Very good. And it's just some dude, and it like cuts to him, and at least the one I saw was it cuts to him occasionally, and he's just like in a very moody setting in his like house with like very low light, and he's just like, the sales were suffering.
Yeah,
but they released Shao Kahn or some shit,
yeah, like it's dope as hell. And he's like, yeah, it's because they're suffering, and now they have these characters, the Dragon King, and the universe resetting again.
Tell me a little bit more about the Mortal Kombat story.
No, I know what you're doing. We're gonna talk about Tetris, okay?
So Shao Kahn, what happened with him?
Yeah, no, but like it's one of those things where you're like randomly interested in. It's like, wow, there's like a whole world life events that happen to make this what it is. And the same with Tetris, honestly. It was started by this guy named Hank Rogers. One of the most confusing thing about him was like he's a white guy, but very thick Asian accent. Like a very thick.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I've heard him talk, and it's like, okay, this is a very niche comment here, but do you guys know who Michio Kaku is?
Yeah, the physicist.
Yeah, he's a very famous physicist. And
one of my favorites.
The way he talks and his delivery, Hank sounds exactly like that. That's kind of the closest way
So I actually went to one of his conferences.
If you are going to try to imitate him,
No. I'm not trying to imitate him, but it's like very much like start, have a few words, and then like mellow out. Like that's how he kind of.
But so delivery is a little different. But I'm just saying, like speaking style is like that, where you like his accent, right? Yeah. He's got an accent, Michio Kaku, but he has a very high level of English knowledge.
Yeah,
it's kind of like how I would describe it.
I think the reason for his accent was actually justified. He spent a lot of his life in Japan, so it was not just like an American dude in like Irvine, California, with like an accent. Like his dad traded gems and was responsible for that. So he moved around a lot.
Wait, what do you mean gems? Like what
like
kind?
Diamonds and gems.
Okay. Like actual things. I was thinking.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So he went from like Hawaii to Japan, and he ended up building his life there. He wanted to promote game to editors and become a distributor for games. He was one of those people that had like an early adaptation of like the computer sciences and all that stuff. And he wanted to. I don't know, this is a crazy story because this sounds insane now. He went to the CEO of Nintendo, and he's like, I can make a game for you. And the whole thing was, he saw that the CEO of Nintendo played the game Go. So he's like, I'll make a Go game for you. for $300,000.
Isn't that cool? Back in the days, you could just go up to CEOs of the fucking company and just be
Well, he
like,
did something.
do this for you.
But no, it was a big deal. I remember hearing that it was a big deal that he got in touch with the CEO, and the CEO actually was ready to meet him. And because he was in Japan promoting something else, maybe it was Go, maybe it was something else, and basically made a phone call, and it said his assistant, and somehow, it was his wife. It was Hank's wife that knew, and apparently it was commonly known that like the CEO of Nintendo sits in his office and plays the game Go, and a lot of people were playing it at their like reception desks and things like that. And basically he's like, I can make this for you, and I can make it cheap. And so the guy, I think the Nintendo guy asked him, he's like, hey, like how much do you need? He's like, I need $300,000.
$300,000.
No, sorry, yeah, he needs. I need $300,000, and CEO was like, okay, do it. And then
Wait, $300,000 back in the day, and he was just like, "Go ahead, do it."
And like, he's like, I will get that money back to you.
Yeah.
And I will like earn like after that I'll earn $1 per unit sold.
yeah, he needed. So that was the
Royalty
whole thing.
deal.
So you need to return. He
Yeah.
was returning the money to him somehow, right?
So the thing is,
But you're right, like a big deal. Like I
Yeah.
mean, that's got to be over 5-10 million
And-
in today's times, right? Because that's like what, that's 80s, 70s.
Yeah.
And that's like a cornerstone event for this guy Hank, because this established a long-lasting relationship with the CEO of Nintendo, where they would often just go into his office and play Go together. But
You built it. I like that.
yeah,
You build a friendship. You build a
connection.
Connection.
It's like
yeah.
the equivalent of like getting a smoke on the rooftops.
Yeah.
You know, like go to get get a cigarette with your boss or something like that.
He made the game, him and his team. Game did not sell well. Like he went to the CEO of Nintendo.
Yeah, it's fucking Go. What else?
No. But the thing is, like, what he realized was that the CEO of Nintendo, never really held or played games on his own devices before. So he had someone else dictate. He's like, "Oh, I want to do this and I want to do that," and because of like the way games were and technology was, it was a bit slower
And how
Then-
CEOs were.
than playing Go at the time, like in real life.
Have any of you guys played Go?
I've not.
You have?
I've played it.
I've never played
Yeah.
it.
I haven't played it. I've seen, it's very nerdy, but AlphaGo, have you guys heard of it? So Google made an AI bot basically to beat Go, because Go is, some people say it's way more complex than chess is. So they made AI to beat the best of the best AlphaGo players, and then also simulations and the hardest simulations that they can come up with, because it's so hard to beat that game. And they're able to kind of beat it with their AI. And those are like the turning, like basically the groundwork for what DeepMind became. I don't know if you guys DeepMind was also a company that they acquired, but then they grew it. And now Gemini, the new AI model, is also like, they're all like kind of, Gemini is a merger of DeepMind, and I forgot the other AI, but basically they merged all of that. And those are, so basically AlphaGo was, I guess, one of the foundational things.
I see.
So yeah, I've seen it being played. I haven't actually played it myself. I'm not a huge like avid game. Like,
Yeah. So back to Tetris. Like what ended up happening was, CEO didn't like it. They only sold 150K copies. They weren't able to pay the money back. And like I said, like he tried to schedule meetings with the CEO at the end of the day every day, just so that they could play Go together. And they built like a nice relationship. And then for work, he took a little travel to a trade show in 1988. And, there are so many flashy games like Super Mario Bros. And all of these other games that are happening that were being launched at that time. And then he saw like a small booth with like a very simple premise. And because of his experience with Go, he wasn't really put off by the simplicity of Tetris. He looked more into it and he's like, I want to make this game. He found out that the creator of Tetris was this man named Alexei from the Soviet Union.
Oh, by the way, I've seen the Tetris movie, so I understand like these characters and the context.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I haven't done like a lot of research on it.
There's a lot before that, because right, like I think the whole thing was they didn't know it was linked to Russia for a while, the Soviet Union for a while, because the whole thing was there was a company, Mirasoft.
Yeah, it was Mirasoft and Spectrum Helpbyte USA. They're like sister companies. And that's why a lot of like, because of these two sister companies, that's kind of why a lot of these problems with the rights for the game.
Yeah, I
happened
mean,
in the
god
future.
dang! Like the entire premise of that movie was on the right stuff, and when we watched it, my wife's just like, I have no idea what's going on, but like I'm still like just on the edge of my seat. And I will tell you, like that was actually kind of cool because normally that's like the stuff that you brush over, right, in other movies where you're talking about, oh, how do you have the ability to sell this here? Oh, I can sell this here, but I can't buy this from here. I can't sell it to them. I don't get money for this. And there's an entire movie based on that, right?
Yeah, no, and it was just like because of that, like people believed, like when they found out about the Soviet Union's involvement, they thought this was like a conspiracy from the Soviet Union to stop people from working or being as productive.
Oh yeah,
Imagine that.
right. Like it was peak Cold War, right? So they're just like, oh, yeah, we think the Russians are trying to distract us so we don't make any further technological progress, so that they can one up us.
Hey, did you know that Apple is trying to distract you with the Vision Pro? Don't get it.
Damn.
But no, like it got really crazy because like he had to fight for the rights for Atari from Atari because Microsoft just gave those rights to Atari for the personal computer, and he had to convince the CEO and Nintendo. So what ended up happening was that they asked, like Nintendo was like, okay, we'll only do like 30 or 70K worth of these games. We don't have that much trust in it. And since he kept on since Hank kept on pushing so much for it, the CEO of Nintendo asked Yamamucho, like the creator of Super Mario Bros. I think I butchered his name completely, but that guy is like, a genius, and he was just like, oh, this game is amazing. It will sell. You know how I know that? Ask all your people.
Yeah.
Ask all the people in your office. They're already playing this game.
So the office was already playing Tetris.
Everyone was already
so think
playing
about like
Tetris.
reception desks and all that stuff. They're just playing it on their computers, and so like that's all that's happening, and that's their biggest. That was and continues to be like their biggest audience, right? Just kind of piggybacking off of that, right? The whole thing, the whole appeal of Tetris was that the way it was built was it was like, do you know those games where you're trying to like you have like 15 pieces and you have to you have to fill in a rectangle,
yeah.
right? And so basically what this was they're like, you know what, this does the same thing, but to free up memory, when you make a full line, we're just gonna erase
delete
it.
Yeah.
And so like it got fast. Like the whole thing was as the grid got filled more, the game was slower.
Yeah.
And then so it was kind of a cool thing, and so the challenge was already there and always there for that game.
So it was still risky for him because they released this game finally after begging and pleading and like going from 30K units to 70. End of January, like things were slow and everything, or end of December when it released. And this was only in Japan. He only got rights for Japan at this point. By the end of January, they had sold over 200,000 copies.
And so the other thing was actually interesting. So when you think of a typical video game life cycle, right? Not life cycle. When you think of a video game, right? When do you try to release it? You try to release it on the holidays.
Yeah.
So people get it for their gifts, for their family, their kids, their nieces, nephews, etc. This game didn't do well during the first holiday season that it was in there. So they're like, oh, this is a complete flop.
Yeah.
And I
200,000 copies sound like a
At the
lot
end
to
of
me.
January.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so
okay.
that was the kicker, right? Is that they were everyone was ready to pull the plug on it, and that was the problem. Is that he's like, listen, this doesn't follow a normal life cycle. This doesn't follow that typical game where you have it a couple years, it's dead.
He was
right?
drowning in debt at this point because it was $2 million just to make these cartridges.
Yeah.
And you know what he had to do? And again, crazy. He put his wife's family's real estate portfolio as
Families real estate portfolios.
Like, you know
okay.
what?
As
you know
collateral.
what? I'm so convinced that this is
I
gonna work.
didn't-
I'm gonna give up my wife's entire family's fortune.
So I didn't know we started the Am I the Asshole already.
Right. But I think so. The icing on the cake with all this was that there was an entire battle for the computer rights, right, to license and everything. But then Nintendo or somebody decided to drop this device that we all know called the Game Boy.
Yeah, so that was insane because he had to go with that. Like, he wanted to, what his plan was, since he only had the rights for Japan, he wanted to get all the rights. And he wanted this game.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah, and he wanted this game to be the game that was included with the Nintendo. He convinced the Nintendo US's CEO to be like, include my game instead of Super Mario. He's like, people that want Super Mario will already buy the Super Mario.
Game Boy with Game Boy.
With Game Boy, sorry.
That's dope.
So
I mean, that's a very clever thing to do. Think about it. That who doesn't want fucking Super Mario?
Like,
and if you give it for free, you're not making that much money.
And he's like, everyone and their moms is already playing this desk game. So have it for this new medium that you're looking for. And in order to do that, he had to go to the Soviet Union and talk to them. Like, he hired an agent to be there, like, guide him and kind of go through, like, the Iron Wall and, like, guide him through that time. At that point, things were, like, still, like, calmer than before.
Explain to me the Iron Wall.
I will not. It was the whole thing about, like, the Soviet Union and, like, just communication with the USA.
So the Iron Curtain is what they call it.
I keep on saying wall.
I know.
Yeah.
This is actually the second
This
time
is
I
exactly
said it.
why I said it. I knew what the Iron Curtain.
Wow.
So basically, yeah, and I mean, just to kind of close the loop on that, basically, is because
Berlin Wall. That's what I'm thinking. Sorry.
I get you.
Sorry.
We'll give you
The
that.
Great Wall of China, but you chose Berlin Wall.
Because it involved Russia.
That's
It
in
involved
Russia. Fuck you,
It
man.
was in Germany, but it's fine because it's in Berlin, I guess, right? But the Iron Curtain was just because, like, right, like nobody could see what was happening inside the Soviet Union, so it was like this Iron Curtain that you couldn't see behind. That was the whole thing behind it. So going back to the whole thing is, he went to Russia, and again, on the whispers of liberation, the whispers of overthrowing the Soviet Union was kind of around there. Sentiment was starting to kind of, there's, you can tell the building blocks of a uprising. But he meets this guy, Alexei, right, who created this game. And I explained the whole reason of how this came to be. And basically, they build a friendship.
And, like, the way they met was, like, when he busted into this fucking government site, pretty much. He's like, I demand to speak to these people. And they're, like, officials lined up around him, and his chair just in the middle, and they're explaining, like, what do you want? Because, like, they made this game for, like, not even a game. It was, like, it was a program to solve, like, I forgot what puzzle. I think it was, like, the Penmento puzzle or something. And they're
what is that?
And they're like, oh shit.
That's the one to fill the spaces.
Yeah, like
that's what the puzzle is.
Like fill like square with like different shapes to make a full square. Yeah.
I didn't know that was Russian. I honestly thought it was like a Asian thing.
I mean, the problem might be I don't know, but they were just like running programs to solve this, but they didn't know that Lexi was there, and he told them what he wants to do and what his hopes are, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna be like, they kept on like giving him the turnaround or the wraparound, so he's like, all right, I'm gonna leave, and they're like, all right, come back. When you come back, we'll
negotiate.
We'll make a deal or negotiate. And he's like, oh no. When I leave, I'm done. We're gone. There's no deal. And the deal he gave these people was 25 cents on every game for every Game Boy sold. What ended up happening is they did 30 million units sold that came packaged with the Game Boy, and then 5 million separately.
Oh, man.
The tragedy in all of this, Alexei, the creator, the scientist, the mathematician, never saw a dime of it until recently.
Yeah, I would say, I'm like, because he.
I mean, recently, is he still alive? I mean, yeah, he's probably alive.
No, they're still boys. They're bros. But so the whole thing was, Alexei was like, listen, I can't put my name on this because it goes to the Russian government, and so he's like, hey, you, Hank, it's a handshake deal. They still have no paperwork between the two of them for any of this stuff.
That's insane.
It's a handshake deal. It's like, listen, like, just make sure I trust you, so take care of me. Ever since.
And they bought the rights back. I think it's between him and Alexei. Like, it's official now. It's no
Yeah,
longer a
so
handshake deal.
after watching the movie, I actually downloaded Tetris, and we saw the name Alexei, and I was actually talking with your wife, and I was like, hey, look, it's Alexei's name. And then we just like, yeah.
Yeah, so they rebought the rights. I forgot what there's something I forgot that I think they sold out of something else. There was something else. There was some. It was the whole thing is everything with Tetris is complicated. They sold some aspect of it because there was some shell company that they had, Blue Horizons or something, and they sold it, and then that gave them the money. I think they got like hundreds of millions of dollars for this thing, and they bought the rest of the rights. And basically, they're moving on to the next thing.
So they were
Tetris, the simplest, most complicated game.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so they own the rights for the app.
Oh, okay.
Like the new generation and the app and everything. So like every phone download of Tetris is making them money.
Damn.
You're welcome, Alexi.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's why it's like such a crazy fucking story that this man had to go behind the Iron Curtain, had to just play Go with the like CEO of Nintendo and do all of this and fight like multiple companies and Atari at the time to get the rights to this game.
Yeah, man.
And all he wanted to do was like a game distributor.
and I was turned on to this movie through TikTok. I saw this freaking movie. I saw at least 45 minutes of it through like 3 minute posts. And I'm like, I need to know what's next. And then so I turned around. I was like, hey, I need to find this fucking movie. And thankfully, Apple TV Plus had it.
Yeah.
I saw it with you, so
yeah.
I just randomly found out about it through articles, so I did research the
Nerd.
old-fashioned way. Yeah.
Yeah, so I will say the Tetris stuff, hopefully it was worth the wait. Another thing that we were recently watching was, what's it called?
the Super Bowl.
Yep, the Super Bowl.
That just happened.
And I will say, it was actually interesting. Okay, so I have a lot of opinions about this Super Bowl specifically. It had to be good because of all the hype around Taylor Swift and her, hyping up the Chiefs. And really like, I mean, I'm not hyping up the Chiefs. She's dating Travis Kelce and it's starting to look like a real relationship, right? We talked about it. The other thing I will say is that you had people watching this Super Bowl, I think in historic numbers, that one, don't know how to play the sport, don't know the rules of the sport. Two, who don't care about the sport. And three, who are there just to watch someone else who's in the stands watching the game.
So I went out with about 10 people. 2 people knew how football was played.
I will say one thing.
I was one of them. But yeah.
I will say I did not know the Super Bowl, or I don't know if it's Super Bowl or playoff, overtime rules. They changed it up a little bit on us.
So they're actually changing it again next year. So they made it like they're gonna make it more like a full quarter of like back and forth instead of like one possession on each side.
But it's usually one possession on each side.
That's college rules.
No, for overtime on Super Bowl,
so
or playoffs. That's what it is.
So there's only one. He's right. You're right. There's only one scenario where both teams won't get the ball. Is if the opening team, whoever gets the ball first, scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
Right now they're like, even if it's a touchdown, we'll give it to him. And I'm like, what? I didn't. There's not enough in overtime games, anyways, for it to matter as much. But I guess you're trying to get the audience here. But regardless, the whole thing is it went to an overtime, which was a good game. I will say I enjoyed it.
Well, I actually hated the first 3 quarters. It was one of the most boring first 3 quarters of my life.
Yeah.
But I think the fourth quarter they stepped the fuck up.
So I partially agree. I think first quarter and fourth quarter, best ever.
Really, first quarter.
Because first quarter, like both teams were. They had some stupid
49ers
shit.
were fucking...
They had some stupid shit going on, but they were holding each other at bay.
No, they weren't. 49ers scored right away.
No one scored.
I'm actually confused with the way the game played out because these teams historically do not have good defenses. And that's why I took I don't condone sports betting or whatever it is unless you want to do it, but
unless DraftKings wants to be the sponsor.
Unless they want, and so I bet on the under because the line was 47.5. And I'm like, Super Bowls, they don't
go that high. Yeah.
They don't normally go that high, right? I mean, with that said, last year it did, and a couple of years back I would get it. But teams,
Brady playing.
Yeah, typically the whole thing is the teams that play in the Super Bowl don't really know each other as well. The Niners and the Chiefs are the closest to a regular season matchup that you'll get because if you think about it, the AFC and the NFC don't always play each other during the season. So that's why their conference, the championship games. The NFC, AFC championships are always better, but typically better because they're like, we know this team. We play them at least once or twice a year, and we kind of have them down. This one is a little different, but the thing I want to kind of hit on the most was the whole Taylor Swiftness of it, right? And how it really trickled into everything else about the game. Now, anybody and everybody, I don't know when they release ad space for commercials and stuff, whoever bought that space before the Chiefs made the Super Bowl, genius.
Yeah.
Like they killed it, because I will say right now the return on all this stuff has to be the highest probably in history, because yeah, you like I said, you have people who are watching just to watch
Taylor.
somebody else, and that means that if you don't care about the game, so if it's the game's live, you don't care, so the commercials are going to be all you're about. I mean, think about how many Temu ads we saw.
I would love to talk about the Kanye ad.
The Kanye ad,
Dude.
revolutionary, marketing genius.
That was dope.
Got people talking. Got so much free publicity. He bought the ad slot for $7 million and
Didn't have
you know
money.
shot it on his iPhone
Yeah.
and just uploaded that shit. And he didn't even take a second to write a coherent sentence for the ad.
He just did it.
He's just
He's
like
a crazy
first
man.
take.
He's a crazy man, but it panned out this time.
Payoffs, man.
But I will say, like, right, like historic returns on investment for sure. If you have any kind of like ad space or whatever it is, because you're just reaching such a large audience now, right? Viewership was 124 million people either watched the game through like TV or streamed it, and that's insane for a
crazy.
sporting event, right? Like,
And you have to think about it: 124 million people, and population of America is what 256, and a lot of us like
well,
didn't-
300 plus now, but
300 plus.
but yeah,
But
yeah.
like, also, a lot of us like went in a group, right? Like I was at a Buffalo Wild Wings,
Yeah.
watching it with like, you know, hundreds of people. Yes, there were like 10 screens, but it was not like a screen per person.
Yeah, I don't know
So-
how they get these numbers, because you're right. Like even that like 124 million TVs are tuned into this. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like what the real number is.
Yeah.
but I think they get a good estimate of what's going
A
on.
large population of the
Yeah.
United States watched this event.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like what I was saying, I think Brendan Marshall told the story about like Kanye and how he booked. Apparently, it was alleged that he booked the suite in front of Taylor Swift because he knows no one's going to ever pan to
Yeah.
Kanye.
Ask
So
Denver
every time they
Bronco.
pan to Taylor, you're gonna see Kanye. And apparently because of their past or whatever, she was kind of pissed about it, made a couple calls and got him either kicked or moved next to Lady Gaga.
Not a very classy move on Taylor's part, huh?
If true.
Again,
true.
alleged.
Yeah.
Alleged.
Yeah. So a lot of Taylor talk, but someone actually went back and rewatched the Super Bowl, all the ads and everything, because there are maniacs who kind of do that.
Okay.
Taylor's screen time was 54 seconds. 54 seconds.
That I actually saw an article about something like that. It's just wild.
That is insane. And the impact, what was it, roughly $330 million or something?
That was over the season.
Over the season, though.
Yeah.
But that's still crazy. $300 million that
I-
Taylor is generating through, helped NFL generate more revenue by, merchandise sales, through just viewership and ads.
So my whole thing is, I'm like, Taylor Swift, she did this at the peak of her career. I will say this has to be her peak. Whether it was like through a natural progression here or just a random spike because she's merged two large fan bases. I don't know if who else would do this, who else would be in this position. But the whole thing is $330 million feels low. Like, it feels pretty low because think about her army, right? There are people who are blind. Like, she can convince people to blindly spend money on stuff that they don't know enough about, do things that they don't really care enough about, and also at the same time listen to her music, right? Which I will say it's pretty good. You know, I can say, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so the fact that that's only $330 million feels low. But again, it's such a hard number to measure. Right? We tried this, right? When we did with the whole thing with her impact to a city just by having a show there.
Yeah.
Right. And so that in itself, it's just hard to quantify. So $330 million over a season's pretty good.
Also,
But-
it's not like NFL is going to be like, oh yeah, Taylor's the reason why we made all this profit.
Nah.
There's no way. Taylor, I think
NFL
they
will
were,
never tell you. NFL
Yeah,
will never
NFL was also very upset with all the hype that Taylor was getting to begin with. So I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
the problem is the NFL, as much as they want to say, it's like it's an old boys club, right? You're gonna have. I recently started watching Ballers again, and you start seeing a lot of that too early on. That the NFL is just all about a very good image, but at the same time, just sweeping a lot of stuff under the rug that you don't need to like look at or don't need to care about. But I'll say the Super Bowl overall was a good game. I will say that it started off very slow, and we were kind of pissed because we did. Do either of you do like the Super Bowl squares by chance?
no, I didn't do it this year.
We did, and one couple took it all.
Jeez.
That's crazy.
Like I was like, dude. So I was like, all right, guys, everyone. I mean, we were $100 a couple, so we're like, all right, everyone send him $100. That's it. But my God, I will say we talked about how annoying it would have been if Travis Kelce got the MVP as well.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I think if he had scored that last touchdown, maybe, just because of hype. But Patrick Mahomes
Deserved
his
it.
heart out,
Definitely
man.
deserved
He turned
it.
up, dude.
Yeah, he
Fourth
played his
quarter, he
heart
turned up, especially like with so I noticed that like not a lot of QBs would like risk their body by running it, and he did that like Super Bowl game, like just because he knew it was gonna be tight and everyone's gonna be covered.
I will say they talked about this a while back. At this point, maybe a few years, but basically like how Mahomes was basically like almost like the game is too slow for him. Now he's not a very fast quarterback, but he can analyze the game fast enough where he's like, I can figure all this stuff out pretty quickly. It's very hard for him, except on this stage, you could tell he was like trying to figure out. He was maybe overanalyzing a little bit, right? But like he can make decisions on the fly, and so him running like that and stuff.
I think that's normal. Yeah.
It's easier for him to do.
Yeah.
He's still got the athletic ability. I don't know why. I don't know why, but Brittany Mahomes just annoys me. And like she shouldn't. I mean, she actually got a spot. I don't know. This recently came out where she's on the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, okay, like that's cool, but I'm just sitting thinking, I'm like I just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't wish anything like negative to happen to her. But I'm just
yeah.
I don't care for her.
It's actually funny you brought that up because like she posted on her Instagram like a text conversation between her and Patrick. Friday, January 5th at 1:20 p.m.
This is gonna get annoying. Go ahead.
I'm ready.
Patrick texted her, I decided we are going to win the Super Bowl. And then Sunday, January 28th at 6:14 p.m. I'll see y'all in Vegas. I'm not done. Period. That's it. 2 texts. And I'm like, you know how hard that is to be like, I've decided I'm going to win the Super Bowl?
Wait, hold on. This is to his wife?
Yeah.
He doesn't text his wife, huh?
I'm assuming that these are like just stitched together. I don't think this is like
so they cut out the dick pics.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not like he doesn't text her.
That's what I was. I was like, also, what a bitch for not replying.
And it was like February 11th. Told you.
Yeah.
No, I was talking to my wife and I'm like, hey, this will be my new salary. I just said the number and she's like, what the fuck is that? And then I was like, that's my new salary. And then she's like, okay. And why'd you text me?
We're in the other room. I'm in the other room.
I love that.
I tried this, but
I love that. She's like, you're a bitch.
Is that it? Is that it?
Is that it?
is that it?
We are not going to Vegas.
Okay, so quick question about this. So favorite commercial. Did you guys have a favorite commercial?
Oh my God. You know what? I blacked out on all this stuff.
Yeah, I've watched the commercials, but I didn't really have like a favorite commercial.
Nothing stuck.
Yeah. This year was not that great with commercials. My favorite part of it was I saw a bunch of Temu ads, and
That's all I remember. That's all I remember.
Actually, I think it was like Allstate or something with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. And it's like, I'm in the chopper or some shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Or like something, Allstate or Progressive, one of those insurance companies, and like
was there a Geico nearby?
he's like
so
a good neighbor. State Farm is here, and he kept on saying her here, like his thick ass accent or whatever.
I'm only thinking of the one where he's like literally in a helicopter.
Yeah, that's the same one.
Is it this one? Okay.
It just went on for way too fucking long.
Oh,
That was my only thing about it. Like, cool, should have cut it at a certain point.
the only reason why I like the Temu ads is because the tagline, just the funniest and
good.
the dumbest, and it's a good tagline.
It's a good tagline.
It's like shop like a billionaire.
Yeah, it was a good tagline. I like that. One theme stuck out to me, and it again goes back to the whole Taylor Swift thing, right? Like think about all the ads. Like Dove, for example, had an entire ad, like a Super Bowl ad.
Guys, I just realized the best ad that we haven't talked about yet.
All right.
Michael Cera doing CeraVe.
So problem is, I saw that before the Super Bowl came out.
Same.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, why? Why did I have to see this?
That was actually pretty good.
That was such a
No.
good ad. I loved it.
It fits. It fits him. And I'm like, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, don't ever try to grow a mustache again. Ever.
Yeah, like it's very pedo stash.
He can't help it.
He just can't.
Like what color? So okay, my whole thing was the color doesn't fit his face, but it's like, what color wood? Like an off-white?
Black wooden for
Right?
sure.
Like, it's gonna be like,
I was so fucking surprised. I know it's CBS or NBC. I forgot whatever the fuck which one it is, but like 4 ads for that fucking Justin Hartley show, The Tracker. I'm like, yo, this is not gonna be the moneymaker you think it's gonna be.
I will
dude.
say it was on afterwards. We didn't enjoy it.
No, yeah,
It was just.
They
on,
don't
but-
pay for it if it's on its own network. They
but I
don't
mean,
pay
you
for
have to
those
look at
ad
it. You have to
slots.
look at it as like slot they could have given to someone else and got paid for, right?
But
Oh,
no. So the problem is this: they probably spent a shit ton of money. So like the whole thing is, you have a $7 million slot. I just throwing that number. I think that's what we said, right? You either try to recoup it that way, or you try to recoup it by increasing the viewership of this show that you have, right? And all the ads that go along with it.
They did not do that math correctly. Nobody's watching this fucking shit.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, so I'm wondering how much in the hole
You think
they
they can do
are.
$28 million worth of viewership on this fucking tracker show?
I have no clue. Well, honestly, I didn't realize. I still don't know what that show. And I've seen 10 ads during the Super Bowl for this thing, and I'm like, is it? And every time I was like, hey, isn't that guy from This Is Us?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, oh, isn't that the guy that married to the girl from the Selling Sunshine?
Oh yeah. Selling Sunset. You're right. Yeah.
So halftime show.
I was telling you because like I'm a deep millennial, right? Like where like I'm not on the edge, and it's just funny because
I'm a late millennial.
That's weird.
we were talking about this there. We're like this. It's an interesting time to be alive for us because all the things and whatever you want to call it are catered to us,
Yeah.
right? Like the people who are watching the Super Bowl right now, for the most part, and are like actually doing serious shit, are millennials, right? Like, and give it another 5-10 years, and then it's gonna be Gen Z on like the higher end, like the older end, earlier end, right? And then you're gonna start. It's transition. We're in this weird spot right now where everything's catered to us.
Hey, I'm fine the next 10 years to be Barbados, man.
Yeah, and it was good. So that as a result, I actually liked
didn't like
the
it.
halftime show.
I didn't like it. Like I knew all the Usher songs.
Yeah.
I fuck with Usher, but like I just didn't like the performance. He was out of breath.
It wasn't that out of breath.
I don't
man. I think he was fine. That's just like
also my man
performance.
was in like a full on like Globo Gym kind of suit.
I saw
And that shit was
I saw
that shit looked heavy, man.
If you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge Usher too.
And like someone checking on Swiss Beats to see how he's fucking doing,
Dude,
I would not let that slide.
I know that was some shit.
That was
man.
some weird shit, bro.
Yeah.
Wait,
Oh.
that's just a performance, man. That's literally what they get
How
paid
would you feel
millions
about
for.
your wife if that was
If Usher would feel that,
If Usher, yeah, that's a problem.
right? Yeah, it was Usher, right? It was
That's
Usher.
a problem. Yeah.
But I was just the whole thing was right. I grew up listening to his music. He's still I don't know if he's still releasing shit. They're somebody I was with said that is releasing or just released an album. I don't know. I didn't vet this.
Yeah, he's doing like a lot. He's doing like the Lovers and Friends. He also has like a residency in Vegas, I think.
Who doesn't at this point, man? Right? Even I have one.
And yeah, I think there's gonna be an album, or there was an album, but I'm just like, I didn't like the performance. There's too much weird shit going on. Like he was out of breath. I liked that he tried to dance. And
I just
sing.
didn't think he had production value. Like you
so I
had
can give
Rihanna
that.
last year, right?
Yeah.
And then the whole stage, that everything just looked so good.
So I will say
Katy
this.
Perry riding a fucking lion while singing "Roar," guys.
So I will say,
Yeah.
right? Like, so as far as production value goes, or also I recently learned this, and this is, let me see if this edits your opinion a little bit. They don't get paid to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show,
Yeah.
right? Right? They don't get paid,
Yeah.
and so like what I'm saying, like it changed my perception of this whole thing, right? Like you had, and that's why, like, I mean, because last year was Rihanna, and she was 5+ months pregnant, right? So she couldn't do anything. So everything had to be done around her. So that I'm like, you know what? The
Yeah,
production
but-
value has to be big on that case because you're not going to have performance value with her.
Okay, but her performance doesn't need to be dancing. Her performance can be singing, and which she did.
Yeah, no,
right.
So she's a singer first, right? Usher is actually a dancer first, and also a singer. Like he's like, it's like you. Who's another good? Chris Brown. Like it's like having a Chris Brown show where he just sings.
So Chris
Right.
Brown dances and sings well together. Usher could not do that, which is
I
my
will,
problem.
I will say, Chris,
I'm not. Yeah, this is something it's
Also,
a hill you're on your own.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was fine,
And remember,
too.
what they do is this, right? Like, if you guys were listening on that, and it again, they do a good job with this too. Is that he can override the audio, by singing. Otherwise, they have a track playing.
Yeah.
And so you can hear when he's actually singing. And I get it that like towards the end, he probably wasn't singing much, and my man was a little bit out of breath, but I'll give him that, man. Like it was actually a longer performance.
He brought on Luda.
Yeah, man. Also in his global gym.
I was screaming. I'm like, don't you have a fucking Fast and Furious to film, dude? Like, get out of here. No, but like to his point, like they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah. They don't get paid money for this, and like some of these guys actually put some of their own money in. Like I know for a fact, The Weeknd actually put $7 million of his own money for the production of his show.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you this. Like, I will never buy.
You know
this.
how that ended though. Like I could barely hear that man.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you guys. I will never buy that crap. That they're not getting paid. They're not doing this out of the goodness of their heart. They're making shit ton of like money in return because now Usher songs are trending.
So
Usher.
that's the big thing.
That's the investment.
It's an investment, right? The more you invest, the bigger and the better your show is.
Not always.
The more, no. So think about the big like kind of fuck you to the NFL that happened was after the whole Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson thing, right? Nobody wanted to touch that Super Bowl halftime show, right? Because all negative publicity, and for that reason, right? Like you're not gonna get that return, right? Usher is like, hey, I've dropped a new album or whatever it is, or I am releasing one, so I need to get my name out there. And what better way to reach 100+ million people overnight than doing this? To be like, hey, like Usher, like I didn't think about Usher for a while, but for a long time they had a hard time finding people, man. Like they had The Who perform one year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know any of that. I know enough about it to be like, oh, like cool, like this is that genre, but that's it, man.
So someone reported that yes, he didn't get paid for the performance, but he earned about $52.5 million from the exposure.
Damn. Okay.
So there's your return on investment, right?
Yeah.
Even if your production value is what $4 million, $5 million, that's still 10x, right?
But I know for sure, right? The whole thing is that is production value, is that enough of a value add for you to be like, hey, like having amazing production value versus having decent one,
or something goes wrong, like or you're creative enough, right? Where think about the Katy Perry's performance. It was the left shark, right shark, whatever that debacle. I don't know.
So that's actually one of the things that I was disappointed about. There were no standout characters this year. Like, you know, like the Sharks with Katy Perry, the ASL translator for Rihanna.
What would you do for him?
No, I'm not saying
him grabbing
Alicia Keys' ass. Yeah, that's
that is the standout.
I don't mean like Usher. I mean like in general for the Super Bowl. Like there's always someone that like randomly gets picked famous.
Taylor Swift, bro.
That was it. This is what that year is.
Yeah. But like, you know, like the ASL translator, like she had shows booked or people just watching her after the Super Bowl. So I was just like,
at a work all hands thing today. And there was
I know.
All hands. I get it.
That's it. The ASL, I get it.
And there was the ASL interpreter, and she did not look happy. She was. I don't think she was like.
What were the signs?
And the signs weren't positive.
No, the facial expression she was making made it look like she's touching like the grossest thing, like baby's diaper, and she's.
I have to ask, did she look legit? I know you don't know ASL, but like,
how would I know?
Did she look the part? Did she look? Because there are so many sites of people just signing on for ASL jobs, and like not knowing what they're actually doing, and then just faking their way through it with hand signs.
Yeah. Oh my god, this actually surfaced recently for me. I forgot what it was. It looked like a very important meeting.
Yeah, it was like a mayor's office or some shit.
Yeah, and someone finally got called out because this lady was like clearly not doing any kind of sign language. It just all the attention, no attention was on her, and then eventually all attention was on her.
No, that's wild, dude. Do you think she was legit though?
I think she was legit, but I think she was just having a bad day or something, and she was making like the meanest like faces while doing sign. And I'm like, the person in the video was not even like, because it was a live event, so I'm watching this and it's like the person's like very happy and talking about like how her house operates and all of that stuff, and this person's like giving the stink face.
The stinkiest face.
So moving on real quick here, guys. Like, so we should address Valentine's Day. What are you guys doing for it? Anything?
Me and my wife don't do anything special for Valentine's Day. We usually just get a massage, like, or if that, we usually donate, I think, whatever money we usually, like, we would spend on a date, we would donate that amount of money to like St. Jude's or something like that.
I get you.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you?
I'm single.
No, fair. Yeah.
I don't.
So it's actually funny you mentioned.
So what do you do with your right hand?
So here's a funny tidbit I actually recently learned. So a couple things. I saw some stuff that I wanted to kind of like, I thought was interesting about Valentine's Day, right? So first, did you know that there's an unofficial or official, I don't know how you want to put this, name for Valentine's Day specifically for single people?
Valentine's Day?
It's called International Quirky Alone Day. There's also Galentine's Day, but that's the day before. That's right?
International Quirky Alone Day.
Yeah, quirky alone is one word. I don't know what the fuck that is, but basically, it's to celebrate
Yourself.
self-love.
Yeah, I was better off not knowing that.
Listen,
I think I've become lesser of a man knowing this information.
Listen, I didn't say I was here to help. Okay, but okay. So here are some interesting statistics that you talk about. Like you donate, right? The expectation is that a couple spend $200. Now imagine that, right? Now also on top of that, $26 billion was estimated to have been spent last year on Valentine's Day.
26 billion?
Billion.
With a B?
Big B. Big B. And here's the crazy part, okay?
Fuck.
Here's the crazy part. 750 million. Now, don't get me wrong. Compared to the 26 billion, it's not that much. 750 million is spent on pets.
What do you mean pets?
Like for Valentine's Day stuff for your pet.
You give your pets
and think about this. You can't fucking give them chocolate. So what the fuck are you doing? Buying them roses?
Yo, that's crazy. That's fucking crazy. $750 million.
And so then the industry knows it, right? So
I'll take that to go.
Right. The industry knows it, right? So 250 and so like they grow 250 million roses specifically for Valentine's Day. Specifically in anticipation of it every year.
I thought you were going to talk about dogs. I'm like, what's the difference? What's the difference?
They don't
what
know.
Are dog roses?
Right? And so just to kind of highlight, we're talking about numbers and impact and all that kind of stuff. So like this is an incredible thing just dedicated to a random day. Now it's important to me. My daughter was born on Valentine's Day. So naturally we have an excuse to not celebrate Valentine's Day for Valentine's Day, but we still celebrate something, right? But the first recorded Valentine was sent in the 1400s by some dude. I think is like some duke. But the thing was he sent it from prison. And so I thought that was really interesting. I don't know how he got it out.
I'm locked up. Don't get me out.
And so it's actually so the Valentine's Day stuff has a lot of interesting like shit that happens around it, right? It was like a pagan holiday. They don't really know fully whether it's a Roman like Cupid is originating from the Roman side of it, like the Roman god
Wasn't
of love.
Wasn't he like a murderer or something? There was like some
So-
lore about it.
So there's the Valentine's Day massacre that happened.
Yeah.
I think that was.
Wasn't he a murderer?
I think that
No,
was.
Cupid. There's some lore around Cupid. I don't know if it's like
never
like a fan fiction or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
you read someone's Tumblr post. It is the day. It's one of the days with like the lowest amount of crimes. I read
everyone's
that.
getting
I read that
love.
on a post. Yeah, that and Mother's Day.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, just want to kind of talk a little bit about Valentine's Day here. But do we have? Yeah, I was like, do we have anything else you want to kind of talk about?
So we started watching another show called Fool Me Once, and I think we're gonna talk a lot about it. Like we'll probably every week we'll do an episode. And we'll kind of talk about it. They're like 40, 50-minute long episodes, but there's only 8 episodes total. So it's like a limited series. It's like trending number 7 on Netflix. We'll let the viewers kind of like catch up to us or something. So, but if you start right now, next week on the pod, we will discuss about the first episode. And then moving forward, we'll kind of go ahead with it.
It won't be that hard. We've only seen one episode.
Yeah,
so.
we've only seen one episode. And it's a decent show so far, at least. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No worries. Do you guys want to end it on a Reddit?
Yeah, let's do
Oh
it.
yeah. Okay. So this needs to. I really need to say this.
All right.
If you're eating something, if you're near food, don't listen to this right now. This disclaimer just needed to be out there. If you haven't had food, you will lose your appetite. Okay, with that, this is probably one of the grossest things that we have talked about on the pod, but it is very well worth it. So, are you guys ready?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so this is a story of an OR nurse. I was taking call one night and woke up at 2 in the morning for a general surgery call. Pretty vague, but at that time, I lived in a town that had large populations of young military guys and avid meth users. So late night emergencies were common. I got to the hospital where a few more details awaited me. Perirectal abscess. For the uninitiated, this means that somewhere in the immediate vicinity of the asshole, there was a pocket of pus that needed draining.
Oh.
Needless to say, the entire crew was less than thrilled. I went down to the emergency room to transport the patient, and the only thing the ER nurse said as she handed me the chart was, "Have fun with this one." Amongst healthcare professionals, vague statements like that are a bad sign.
I think that's how it is for everything. Like if someone gave you like a random test, it's like, oh yeah, dude, you need to go pick up coffee, and it's like, have fun with that one. I'll be like, what's in this coffee?
Yeah, I was like, well, dude,
who's gonna assault me on this way out?
All right, so my patient was 314-pound Native American woman who barely fit on the stretcher I was transporting her on. She was rolling frantically side to side and moaning in pain, pulling at her clothes and muttering Hail Marys. I don't know what that means. What does Hail Marys mean?
it's a prayer.
Oh, okay. I could barely get her name.
Sorry.
I thought that was just a football play.
No, yeah, for a second I thought she was like Shotgun 92, like Blue Turtle 58, like just throwing out football plays.
I could barely get her name out of her after a few minutes of questioning. So after I confirmed her identity and what we were working on, I figured it was best just to get her to the anesthesiologist so we could knock her out and get the circus started. She continued her theatrics the entire 10-minute ride to the OR, nearly falling off the surgical table as we were trying to put her on putting her under the anesthetic. We see patients like this a lot, though chronic drug abusers who don't handle pain well, who have also used so many drugs that they have increased the levels of pain medications, like increased level of pain medications.
They built some tolerance.
Yeah, don't touch, simply because of the high tolerance levels. Yeah. All right, where do you guys see this going?
Honestly, I have no fucking clue, man.
Me neither.
I'm sitting thinking, I'm like, dude, there's just this is a very chaotic story
I feel
already.
like it's gonna be like a volcano of pus.
Yeah, like someone's gonna have to, she's gonna have to like take a shit, and then like she puts a lot of effort into it, and then because it's gotta come out somewhere.
It's gonna come both ways. I think it's gonna be a mix of pus and shit. Just a little,
All right.
a little
a little both.
So
a little red 42.
let me continue. It should be noted, tonight's surgical team was not exactly wet behind the ears. I don't know what that means.
That means they weren't new.
How does that mean that?
That's a real that's a real phrase. It's like, oh,
I don't know why I thought the opposite. Like they weren't
wet
seasoned.
Behind the ears. So like wet behind the ears, I think is
probably just
new.
refer to like you're born. Yeah.
So they're not.
Because is it like because you're younger, you give each other noogies or something? Is that what that means?
I'm actually gonna look this up.
I'm curious.
Wet behind the ears means like naive and inexperienced.
Okay. Oh, so they were not new.
So seasoned. Interesting.
I had been.
It's reference to
birth,
baby, and amniotic fluid.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, okay. I've been working in the healthcare for several years already, mostly psych and medical settings. I watched an 88-year-old man tear a 1-inch diameter catheter balloon out of his penis while screaming, "You'll never make me talk."
What? What kind of hospital she worked at?
I don't know.
What?
Yeah.
Tore a 1-inch fucking balloon out
Catheter
of his
balloon.
Catheter balloon. So.
out of his dick.
Yep.
Well, that's the only place you put a catheter, man.
Yeah.
For guys.
That's wild.
I have been attacked by an HIV positive neo-Nazi. I've seen some shit.
This is the worst kind of flexing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, my family has been through the famine, bro. It's like, okay.
The other nurse had been in the OR as a trauma specialist for over 10 years. The anesthesiologist has had done residency at a level 1 trauma center.
I thought she was gonna go down and list all their shitty accolades as well. Like she was attacked by a homeless man day 1.
No, so the anesthesiologist has had done residence at the level 1 trauma center, or as they call them, knife and gun clubs.
Oh.
The surgeon was ex-army and averaged about 8 words and 2 facial expressions a week. None of us expected what was about to happen next.
I didn't know that's like a metric. Like
just-
I mean, he's just a very
doesn't
stern.
talk.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just
I
doesn't
8
talk.
words in a week. Come on.
I know
Yeah.
people that don't fucking talk.
I think that's just a figure of speech. That this guy's like very.
Also, knife and gun club.
Or maybe
Fuck
they
it.
count. Or maybe they count his words.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah. Also, nice knife and gun club. Fucking hard, dude.
Fucking hard. Yeah.
That's hard as shit, dude.
We got the lady off to sleep, put her thighs on the stirrups, and I began washing off the rectal area.
With a hose, I'm guessing. God damn.
No. I'm sure at this point I'm sure she came in way understrapped for what's about to happen. She like just using like one of those airbrushes, like just doing this shit.
It was red and inflamed. A little bit of pus was seeping through, but it was pretty standard.
Yeah.
Her chart had noted that she has been injecting IV drugs through her perineum, so it was obviously an infection from dirty needles or bad drugs, but overall it didn't seem to warrant her repeated cries of, "Oh Jesus, kill me now."
Was she pregnant?
No, she wasn't pregnant.
Okay. I'm just I'm guessing like sometimes people just don't know. So like the way I thought this movie was gonna go is
Movie.
Yeah.
Here's a funny thing. Okay. Piggybacking off it.
Yeah.
Well, how did you look in your head?
It's a 314-pound woman.
I see. I missed that, but she was still as fat in my head.
See, I heard that part. That's why I'm like, she didn't notice.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and the kid's gonna slip and slide out of shit and pus.
He'll be wet behind the ears.
I'm just gonna say there's gonna be a lot of references that some I know, some I don't know.
Okay.
But you will get the idea that are coming up.
Oh, we'll talk about each and every one of them.
Yeah.
We'll learn the history of all of them.
He was wet inside the nose. What?
The surgeon steps up with a scalpel, sinks just the tip in, and at the exact same moment, the patient had a muscle twitch in her diaphragm. And just like that,
Oh my God.
all hell broke loose. Unbeknownst to us, the infection had actually tunneled nearly a foot into her abdomen, creating a vast cavern full of pus, rotten tissue, and fecal matter that had seeped outside of her colon.
How is he alive?
This godforsaken mixture came rocketing out of that little incision like we were recreating the funeral scene from Jane Austen's Mafia.
I don't get that reference.
I don't get that reference either. We all wear waterproof gowns, face masks, gloves, hats, the works.
It's not enough.
All of which were as helpful as rain boots against a fire hose. The bed was in the middle of the room, an easy 7 feet from the nearest wall. But by the time we were done, I was still finding bits of rotten flesh pasted against the back of the wall. As the surgeon continued to advance his blade, the turn just continued. The bed shook like crazy.
Oh my.
Just imagine the force, the pus is coming up, that the bed is shaking, because it's obviously like, locked in, but and
Oh
it's
God.
like
And
it's
the smell.
I'm
This
imagining like, you know, the exorcism when like she like throws up all that fucking fluid. That's just her, but with her shit and pus.
The patient kept seizing against the ventilator, not uncommon in surgery, and with every muscle contraction, she shot more of the brackish gray brown fluid out onto the floor until within minutes it was seeping into the other nurse's shoes. I would quit. I would quit.
Quit. That's the day I learned to be an amputee. That's the day I choose.
They should have done it before and after. Like weighed her.
Yeah,
Like that's the thought that's coming through my head, man.
yeah, I'm sure she lost like yeah.
No, fuck that, bro. Like, I'm okay with listen, I was okay until the part where, like, I imagined someone's like she was filling up with this.
Oh yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah.
I just feel bad for her, man. But occupational hazard, right?
How do you deal with it, dude?
Oh
How
yeah,
do you deal with that?
You take a day off.
No, you take the week off, man.
You know what? Yeah, she's a doctor. You give her another day.
Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah.
2 days.
No, this was a nurse.
Yeah.
Damn. Then 1 day. No.
Give her 2 days to bounce back.
Unpaid.
I was nearly 12 feet away, jaw dropped open within my surgical mask, watching the second nurse dry heaving and the surgeon standing on tiptoes to keep this stuff from soaking his socks any further.
Hold the fucking phone. Okay, I thought it was just because of the force of like it just like went into her shoes. It was creating a layer on the floor.
Yeah. You just imagine how much pus came out of this woman.
How small is this OR room?
At least walls were 7 feet away, so it's
like,
pretty big.
So what the fuck, dude?
I don't think it's like covering the entirety of the floor. I think
just the area, right? Like that area is
And I don't
probably
think
like
this is
building
like
up.
too
Would be-
liquidy.
It should be spreading.
Yeah,
but
I guess
My
maybe
assumption
if
is since it's also
it's probably
dead
thicker.
flesh,
Yeah, it's probably thicker
it's
than
thick,
Yeah, I don't know.
not too watery.
just ugh, just ugh.
The smell hit them first.
Of course.
Oh God, I just threw up in my mask. The other nurse was out. She tore off her mask and sprinted out of the room, shoulders still heaving. Then it hit me, my mouth still wide open, and not able to believe the volume of fluid this woman's body contained.
I thought that was gonna go much darker.
No. It doesn't. So it was like getting a great big bite of despair and apathy that permeated this woman's life.
Is this bitch a writer? Like, what is this? Like,
It's getting very
elaborate-
descriptive now.
Yeah.
I couldn't fucking breathe. My lungs simply refused to pull any more of that stuff in. Dude, I literally wouldn't be able to. The anesthesiologist went down next. An ex-NCAA D1 tailback, his 6'2" frame shaking as he threw open the door to the OR suite in an attempt to get more air in.
Dude.
Letting me glimpse the second nurse is still throwing up in the sinks outside the door. Oh, dude, what a fucking mess, man. What a fucking mess. Another geyser of pus splashed across the surgeon, across the front of the surgeon. The YouTube clip of David at the dentist keeps playing in my head. Is this real life? I don't get this reference. Yeah. In all operating rooms, everywhere in the world, regardless of socialized or privatized, secular or religious, big or small, there is one thing the same. Somewhere there is a bottle of peppermint concentrate. Everyone in the department knows where it is. Everyone knows what it is for, and everyone prays to God they never have to use it. In times like this, we rub it on the inside of our mask to keep the outside smells at bay long enough to finish the procedure and shower off. I sprinted to our central supply, ripping open the drawer where this vial of Embryosa was kept, and was greeted by an empty fucking box.
Oh my God, no.
The bottle had been emptied and not replaced. Somewhere out there's a godless bastard who had used the last of the peppermint oil and not replaced a single fucking drop of it.
So this was an inside job. I see.
To this day, if I figure out who it was, I'll kill them. I'll kill them with my bare hands, but not before cramming their head up their colon of every last meth user I can find, just so we're even. I darted back into the room with the next best thing I can find: a vial of mastisol,
No,
which is an adhesive rub we use sometimes for bandaging. It's not as good as peppermint, but considering that over 1/3 of the floor was now thoroughly coated in what we could easily be mistaken for a combination of bovine afterbirth
Oh, boy.
and maple syrup, we were out of options. This is very nasty.
It's getting descriptive for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I started rubbing as much of a mastisol as I could get on the inside of my mask. Just glad to be smelling anything except whatever slimy demon spawn we had cut open of this woman. This anesthesiologist grabbed the vial next, dousing the front of the mask in it so he could stand next to his machines long enough to make sure that the woman didn't die on the table. It
So much
wasn't.
care. Still so much care.
Yeah, right? You know, healthcare workers, man. They do a fucking amazing job. It wasn't until later that we realized that mastitol can give you a mild high from huffing it like this.
Oh boy.
But in retrospect, that's probably what got us through.
I was gonna say you couldn't continue it without an altered state.
Yeah. By this time, the smell had permeated out of our OR suite and down the 40-foot hallway to the front desk where the other nurse still sat, eyes bloodshot and watery, clenching her stomach desperately.
My God.
Dude, just imagine a 40-foot hallway came in between.
Does that call us an OSHA violation?
I at this point, I don't even know, dude. I don't know how they're gonna get this place sterile again.
It's never
How do you ventilate all that? Like you gotta like
They gotta like close it up like those like old abandoned schools.
you gotta like start like a controlled fire
Yeah.
to like just burn the essence away. You
Like
know.
that fucking like hill from that one Reddit story with the violin guy that's owned by the government. Like you gotta shut this down.
just fence it off. You
Yeah.
know? Hey, no one goes into OR1 anymore.
Our suite looked like the underground river of ooze from Ghostbusters 2, except dirty.
Oh,
I
I get that reference actually.
Oh, so dirty.
I get that one.
All right, that was gross. It was
Yeah.
gross. It was like pink. It was like pink fucking like, ugh, yeah,
Yeah.
ectoplasm, whatever.
I stepped back into the OR suite,
Why?
not wanting to leave the surgeon by himself in case he genuinely needed help. It was like one of those overly artistic representations of a zombie apocalypse you see on fan forums. Here's this one guy in blue surgical grap standing nearly ankle deep in lumps of dead tissue, fecal matter, and several liters of syrupy infusion. Ugh. Man, this is nasty. He was performing surgery in the swamps of Dagobah, except the swamps
Or
just
shit.
had come out of this woman's ass, and there was no Yoda. He and I didn't say a word for the next 10 minutes as he scraped the inside of the abscess until all the dead tissue was out. The front of his gown, a gruesome mixture of brown and red. His eyes squinted against the stinging vapor originally directly in front of him.
Oh my God.
I finished my required paperwork as quickly as I could, helped him stuff the recently vacated opening of the full of gauze, and taped this woman's buttocks close to hold the dressing as long as possible, woke her up, and immediately shifted her off to the recovery ward.
Oh my God. I thought you were gonna tell me at the end that she didn't make it.
No, dude, that would, yeah. Until then, I had only heard of alcohol showers. Turns out that 70% of isopropyl alcohol is about the only thing that can even touch a scent like that once it's soaked into your skin.
Oh my God.
Ugh. It takes 4 to 5 bottles to get really clean, but it's worth it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, the
Don't
fuck
you
it
get
is.
some sort of like drunk or like high from
I
and
think your body absorbs some of it. Yeah.
Dude, at this point, you kind of clean yourself, right? I'm sure they're done for the day.
It'll counteract whatever that Metrosol thing, whatever they
I
had.
hope. Or adds
Metasol.
on to it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's
Crossfade.
probably it's probably the only scenario I can honestly endorse drinking a little of it too. So I'm sure she drank it. As we left the locker room, the surgeon and I looked at each other, and he said the only negative sentence I've heard him utter in 2.5 years of working together. That was bad.
Yeah, I was like, right.
The next morning, the entire department, a fairly large floor within the hospital, still smelled. The housekeepers told me later that it took them nearly an hour of suction up all the fluid and debris left behind.
They're like, we're gonna need a raise.
The OR suite itself was closed off and quarantined for 2 more days just to let the smell finally clear out. I laugh now when I hear new recruits to healthcare talk about the worst thing they have seen. You ain't seen shit, kid. TLDR, don't shoot IV drugs into your taint.
Ah,
And that's it.
that's my takeaway. It's very tiny, right? Like, yeah, it's like a
very
really small area. Like, you might tear your asshole for that. Like,
That's our takeaway from this.
yeah, it is.
Chicks have taints.
Yeah. I've already blacked out. What was the story about?
Learn
Yeah.
something new every day.
Something about like some chick who like almost was pregnant. I don't know.
Yeah.
She was never pregnant.
Some nurse.
But yeah, this is the grossest one we've had on the show.
It's pretty
right?
gross.
It was gross, yeah.
It's pretty
Not
gross.
too bad. Not as bad as I expected.
Again, I always comes to like, you're like, this is the grossest thing you're ever gonna hear. Then you hear it, you're like, oh, it's not that bad.
I don't-
But if you had said like, oh, like this is like a very wholesome story,
Family friendly.
you know, like yeah,
I don't really get grossed out by these type of things.
I don't either.
Yeah, like I would tear up like a fucking quesarito right now.
yeah. Like, now I will say, if I was there,
Which would look exactly like the throw up.
yeah, if I was there, I'd be like, But I was like, yeah, it's
No, if I was there, I wouldn't be able to handle that.
only like really specific smells get me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like it's not gonna be shit.
He's like, it's randomly peppermint oil.
Yeah, right? Like fucking peppermint oil though, right? Like, yeah.
But no, dude, if I see all that pus, if it touches me, that's it. I gotta get rid of whatever. it
Yeah.
touched.
I'm like tearing my skin
That's
off.
the
Yeah.
that's the one thing I don't know how I would react to, because like thankfully, you know, I've only had to deal with like my kids' shit, but like it's never like gallons of it.
No, this is why I can never be like a nurse. I would throw hands. Like this, I would throw hands at this unconscious bitch, dude.
Yeah.
Like fucking dumbass meth head.
Love our healthcare workers, man.
Yeah,
The shit they have to put up with.
Respect.
Respect, for sure.
respect for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think another good one in the books.
Shout out to Hank, Alexi, healthcare workers.
Yeah,
Taylor Swift
and
for
Taylor
making
Swift,
Super Bowl interesting.
I guess.
Oh.
Can you imagine? Okay, so again, I want to keep hitting on this. Like, can you imagine if the Super Bowl sucked?
It almost did, though. It really almost did.
I mean, freaking Travis Kelce was about to rip off his coach's head.
I know.
Do you hear about this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that was.
And I will say, the man had 1 catch for 1 yard at that point, and he's the number 1 tight end in the league, right? So, he was in top 5 tight ends in the league, right? So, I'd be pissed too. But yeah, I think Super Bowl is awesome. You know, happy Valentine's Day, everybody, and we'll catch y'all next week.
See you next week.
Time to hit the hay.